Lucky Gear shopping live stream where we go online together and look for deals. And I've curated a few ahead of time. And if you guys are looking for anything special or have any questions to help you decide on which product might be best for you, just leave them in the chat section. I'll do my best to answer them. And also, I like to leave it as an open Q&A for anything photography generally related. So this is sort of a hybrid live stream between shopping and my normal live streams that I do on Sunday. Good to see Kevin and Marcia, Ethan. Good to see you guys, and Jeff. As always, good to see you. Um, so I'm going to. I did find some good deals. I picked up a new set of filters for myself that I'll show you. And Marco, good to see you. Let's see. Hopefully, all my screens are working. Yeah. All right. So let's just go to my deal page. And hopefully you've bookmarked, a couple of my links here. This is my basic Amazon shop. So let me put this in the chat section over here. This is sort of a bookmark to my curated list for different categories, but for Amazon. And it just takes you to this page where I've tried to break things up a little bit better between cameras and gear, flash, tripods. First thing I want to talk about actually is this new tripod from Ulanzi. I guess they sent these out to a lot of influencers on what is it, YouTube. And this is something that they didn't reach out to me because I would have loved to review this tripod because there's a lot to like about this tripod. But there's a couple of very minor flaws, I think. Just looking at the images here. But let's talk about a couple of the pros that I like about this, because a lot of the influencers miss this. And that is the ball head here itself. This is a hybrid photo and video tripod. I call it hybrid because basically you have an inverted ball head, which gives you full, functionality of a regular ball head. And also you have the fluid head on top for video work. And honestly, this is kind of my favorite configuration now for tripods. In addition to that, they have the flip lock legs, and because this is an all metal flip lock, you're gonna have fewer problems than say a lot of flip lock type tripods that have plastic flip locks. Because once they break, your tripod's pretty much done. You'll never get the replacement part. And this is not cheap enough where you would buy two and then use one for spares, right? Like Jaguar. But so I like that. And this also has the articulating arm at the top. And this is this is a very common design for articulating arm type tripods. If this is all you want, there's much cheaper options out there. But there's a lot of things to like about this. The carbon fiber helps reduce the weight, but ultimately this is going to be a relatively heavy tripod. This one weighs almost 1.8 kilos. So it does compact down very nice, nice and compact in terms of diameter. But the overall height is going to be sort of a normal size for travel tripods. So it's not particularly compact, but the benefit of that is you get an extremely tall tripod if you want it. It has a very good minimum height here without extending the center column, and then goes up to 187. I guess that's about 6 feet plus, right? In terms of regular what do they call it? Anyway, in terms of inches and feet, this is pretty tall. Okay, and then some additional 1/4-20 screws and RE compatible. So, those are kind of the pros. This is functionally this tripod will do just about everything you want when you're in the field. It's not as the articulating arm here is not long enough really for studio work. If you're talking about photography and flat lay type photography, where you're taking pictures of things on a table, top down, you could, but it's really not long enough. You really need to get an extended arm if you want to do those kind of things. But it's great for close-up photography and macro photography, where you don't need to be parallel with the surface. So I think this is a really good thing for in the field, doing flowers and macro. Uh, that said, there's really a couple of downsides to this design. And one is the the ball head here has these sort of their proprietary uh, mounting system. So you have to use their plate on your camera, which is kind of shown here. This is most likely also Peak Design compatible. So if you're in the Peak Design system, this is perfectly fine. If you like using Peak Design clamps and plates, you're going to be okay here. I don't know if they specifically stated here, but that looks like a Peak Design sort of plate to me. But either way, this is a major problem for me. It causes a couple of problems because you cannot mount standard Arca Swiss type uh, plates, which is what the majority of the accessories and things that you get on your camera are Arca Swiss plate type. And for example, the bottom plates and L brackets and things like that are all typically Arca Swiss plate type mounts. So this is a problem. Also, like nodal rails and focusing rails and things like that. It's going to be a little awkward in this configuration. I mean, you can certainly do it, but you lose a little bit of stability the more layers you add to your mounting system and plates. So this is a minor flaw, I think, for most people, but this is a major flaw for me. This is why I would not get this tripod. Uh, but other than that, there's not much to complain about this tripod. A lot of people talked about how you got the tools included, sort of hidden inside this hook, and that's perfectly fine. If you prep before you leave the house and tighten up everything, you'll be okay. Which is typically what I do is I check my tripod before I go. I'll make sure everything's tightened the way I need it, and I have all the tools I need before I leave. But if you're in the field, it's nice to have the tools there ready to go, not just for your tripod, but for maybe other accessories that you might have. And then the pricing here, 269, another 5% off. What's that? Another $13. So you're going to get this for like $255, all said and done. And I think that is a very, very reasonable price. Not a steal, but a very reasonable price for a product with these kind of features, build quality, it's carbon fiber, metal flip locks, metal ball head. The other flaw I have here with it, the other con is the maximum capacity in terms of weight. So I'm not going to use this with my heavy lenses. Let's see if they stated here, if I recall. There's the tool that they were talking about here. Yeah. So it's 1.76 kilos in weight. Where's the capacity? See, they don't state it right up front because it is a little bit low. If I recall, it was like 8 pounds or something. Oh, 5 kilo load capacity. That's not very much. Okay. Uh, total load capacity. Do they put that? That would include the legs. But yeah, 5 kilos is pretty low. And the reason for that, is the ball head. Uh, it's relatively small. So, this is great for your mirrorless systems. You could even get away with, say, even Micro Four Thirds camera with the 300 f4 Pro, but you're kind of pushing it if you go to your 150 to 600s, those kind of lenses. And to me, this is not an ideal tripod for big, heavy lenses and doing telephoto work. But for just about everything else, it's perfectly fine. Okay. So I wanted to touch on that tripod because I saw a lot of videos on that. I haven't watched a lot of them all the way through. I just kind of skimmed, a few of them because I can pretty much make a decent assessment up front about that tripod without, actually having it on hand. Sight unseen, I can do tripods pretty well because I have a lot, and I'm thinking about reorganizing my back here so that I have my tripods on a rack so I can kind of pick the one that I want. Because just like your cameras and lenses and filters and all the other accessories you get, every tripod, there's no perfect tripod, right? Some tripods are better at some things than others, just like our gear, any other kind of gear. But that tripod, being at 1.76 kilos, is a little bit heavy to carry, and the limitations with the plate and the weight capacity kind of hold it back a little bit for some people, right? But on the pro side, there's a lot to like about it. But I don't think at that weight, at 1.76 kilos, I would make this my everyday tripod. This would be just like another tripod on the rack. That if I know I'm going out to do very specific things, that's the tripod I'll take with me. That said, sometimes it's better to find a more specialized tripod and buy two or three specialized tripods rather than trying to get an all-in-one. And when you do it that way, sometimes when you add up the price of these two or three tripods, they work out to be the same price as just buying one all-in-one. So I'll give you an example. Um, I bought this tripod down here. This tripod, it's carbon fiber, articulating arm, similar to the Lonzi we just saw, and paid $50. It's a really good deal. You can't get it anymore. But when I got it, and I promoted this tripod in one of my live streams from when this was on sale. But I don't know if anybody bought it. It's this yeah, this rack is a little bit flimsy because it wasn't designed for tripods. Okay. I guarantee that's going to fall down during the stream because I just set that up this morning, just to get some ideas going about how I'm going to organize my tripods. But yeah, so this has the articulating head where I can pull this out and articulate it. There's a National Geographic brand, paid like $47. Killer deal, killer deal. I hope some of you got this when it was in sale, but there's that. This is sort of my all-in-one tripod. There it goes. All right. Yeah, that was a bad idea. This is my all-in-one. This is my everyday tripod now, the Photo Pro, and I've talked about this in other streams about this is sort of the hybrid, uh, you know, ball head where it has an inverted ball head and a fluid head with a separate um, rotating axis here. So it's perfect for doing panoramas and things. And this is lightweight. This is not even 1.5 kilos. I think this is closer to 1.3. And it has the same tube diameter as the Alonzi. Well, this is a 25. I think the Alonzi is closer to 26 millimeter at the thickest part, uh, which makes sense because I think it has even, because it is taller than this tripod. But that's those are my two solutions. So if I'm thinking about doing mushrooms and flowers and macro, most likely I'll take this one with me, right? I don't need that one. But if I'm going to be doing just about everything else, panoramas, landscapes, uh, and anywhere I want stability, this is the tripod I'm going to take, particularly if I'm thinking about doing panoramas. And then I have another tripod. It's in my car, but it's a very small, compact tripod from Sure. And that one is good for doing flowers and things because it's so small. I can get it kind of up close. And then, of course, I have my tabletop tripod here. This is great. I just keep this in my bag. This is a great little tripod. I got this for $20. It's $50 now. And I promoted this in another one of my shopping live streams, but you can't get it anymore for $20. It's back up to 50. So, uh, like I said, it's difficult to get away with just one tripod when you really start getting into your photography and trying different things. Every tripod has sort of a different function. So, uh, for example, this one I got this on Prime Day deal that I promoted, and $160. I got this for 45, so we're like at 200. And then I got this one here for $20. So I got three tripods for less than the price of that one Ulanzi. And individually, these tripods all do a better job than that Ulanzi will do, but um, and cost less. But then you, your bulk goes up, right? And the number of things you have to carry if you want to do it all at once. But any one of these tripods individually will do a better job than the Ulanzi for less money, but it won't do everything the Ulanzi does, right? Because this doesn't have the inverted ball head, but it's very stable for landscapes and doing the articulating arm stuff. This one's very good at everything: panoramas, stability, lightweight, easy to carry, very compact, but uh, doesn't have the articulating arm, right? And then, of course, the tabletop tripod for for all the small handheld stuff. Because honestly, sometimes when I'm doing macro, it's easier to hold the camera like this with your left hand while you're doing the macro, and you have good control. An alternative to, if you just need a grip, an alternative would be to use a battery grip that you see for like GoPro cameras. And then you just plug in and you can charge your camera at the same time as uh, while you're using it. So that's probably more applicable for video work where your battery's constantly running out. And then up on top, just for reference, this is the Media F2 flash. This is this is a great alternative to the FLM3 flash that, for example, the OM5 Mark II is not compatible with anymore. So if you need a compact flash, this is a great alternative. I've been using this quite a bit and not having any issues. Uh, the only challenges are is the recycle time is a little bit slow on this. 5 or 6 seconds at full power. I don't normally shoot at full power, and at half power, there's no recycle time really on the second shot, but on the third and fourth shot, then you start running into recycle issues of 2, 3 seconds. And then at the lower powers, it's not bad. It's not bad. You could even do focus bracketing with this flash at the lower powers, but then it's not bright enough, right? A lot of time for doing that. So if you want to do focus bracketing, you can do it with this flash, but it has to be still lighting. There's no way you're going to be able to do anything that's moving like bugs and things, or even flowers, because outdoors flowers tend to move. But the key advantage to this is you can remove the flash head and put it right up next to your subject and use a much lower power and get faster bracketing and recycle times. And also give you options for light and shadow, right, on your subject for close up and macro photography. So this has been a win. This was on sale Prime Day for 39. Now it's back up. I think with coupons and stuff, you can get it for about $45. So it's still a good deal, I think, and a great alternative. So, I just kind of wanted to address the tripod primarily, and then since that flash was on there, I thought I'd share a little bit about how that's going for me. It seems to be so far I'm very happy with this flash. Battery life is good, and then let me check the chat section, and we'll get into some of the curated deals that I found for today. And there's one particular really good one that we'll get into. So Ethan says he doesn't own a tripod. You need to get one, buddy. You got to be kidding. Hold on, Ethan, you're the macro guy. How can you not have a tripod? I think that you do all the close-up macro. That would be very surprising if you don't have one. Um, and Christopher, good afternoon from France. Wow. And I see Contrails here. Good to see you. And oh, the katanas, I just dropped them over. I dropped them over where I keep my tripods normally in a bucket and just stack them all in there. But so that's where they are now. And the best Bowens mount softbox options. So there's so many varieties of softboxes that I need a little more context of what you're trying to light up. Typically, softboxes you want to do it for portraits for that soft lighting, and then it's going to vary on size, right? Do you want a square, rectangular, or octabox, right? The round ones. For me, I prefer the square and rectangular ones over the round ones for studio, like in the studio. I just feel like I have more control over the direction of the light in the square and rectangular. The round ones are better for travel, taking it with you on site because they collapse down uh, really nice and compact. Uh, so in terms of soft boxes, you want to look for a couple of things. You want to get the size that you need. I'd say at least 22 inches, whether it's a round or square type softbox. And then uh, it needs to be collapsible. And these soft boxes, there's some really cheap ones out there where you have the rods and dowels that you have to put together and stick into the little holes and things. And those things are major, major, major pain in the ass, okay, to assemble and disassemble, whether in your studio or on site. I do not buy those soft boxes anymore. So let me grab one that I really like. That's a rectangular. So what I like about this one is it collapses down very, very flat. Right. This is a rectangular. But then, sorry, let me get over here. Then you have this very tall. So this is great for like full body shots, and you can direct the light, and it comes with a grid if you want to really tighten up the angle of light. And it's Bowens mount. And I got a good deal on this one, so let me look this one up. Fomito QS. And then you can pack this up. It doesn't get any shorter. Okay, so it's pretty long. But most cases, like if you travel and carry your soft boxes and lighting gear case, I have a roller case. Fits in there perfectly. This is a great this is a great option. Hey, this is another great option that's relatively inexpensive. At least it was. We'll have to check the prices. We'll get into that. This is not a Bowens mount though, but what I like about this, it's very, very easy to travel with, and it collapses down, because it collapses down so nicely. It's not a 21 or 22-inch octabox, but the flash mount is built right into this, so I can grab really any flash, whether it's a round head or a square head, and drop this in. So the square head you would put in this way, and if it's a round head, it doesn't matter, right? The whole round head will fit in here. And then you mount this directly to your light stand, and it's very, very lightweight and very compact. So this is great for travel. It also works in a studio just as well, but I use this primarily for traveling because it's so lightweight. Uh, and then, like I said, it expands out pretty easily as an octabox. And this has been great. So those are kind of two ways to go. Is square rectangular that flaps down like this, or super lightweight all in one with the flash mount already built in. Now, the key advantage to having a separate, like a Bowens mount type thing, is of course you can use these with any kind of lighting. So if you want to use LED lighting, um, this will snap into whatever adapter you have for your LED lighting or flash or whatever. So this is a lot more versatile. So this is better for studio type stuff. Is to have the Bowens mount is to use for studio work. But when you have a Bowens mount adapter, then you can attach all different kinds of modifiers, snoots and um, forget what the thing's called. See, don't use it very often, but this is much better for traveling because you don't have to have a separate Bowens mount. You have the flash mount built in. So let me know if what direction you want to go in terms of small and size and all of that, and the kind of things you're going to be lighting. Because nothing really beats a very simple umbrella, right? Uh, if you just have a light stand with an umbrella and a flash holder, that's the most simple, most compact way to go. And I use that quite often. When I want to travel super light, I'll just do a couple light stands and umbrella. And I very, very simple light stands. Let me show you one. I've used this in the field a lot. Is this light stand here? And of course you can fire, I believe. Yeah. So once I mount the Bowens mount adapter or a light, a flash stand holder, like it's great for this. It's great for this thing. And but it has a little flip here. So it collapses down by, I don't know, some kind of compressed air thing. And like that. I have some light meter thing up here, so ignore that. But this compacts down, and these two things I can put in my backpack. So I'll put these on the outside side pocket to the backpack, and then I'll have my flash and camera gear in the bag, inside the backpack. Super lightweight, very portable and compact. So I'm only going into detail about these because you mentioned you wanted the best small soft box. So that implies you want something small that you can travel with. But if you be a little more specific, I can kind of dive into a little bit more for you. But let me show you the some deals on those. So let me go into my deal page. I haven't been looking for softbox and lighting stuff in a while because typically I try to concentrate on the core things, accessories, tripods, filters, bags, right? Backpack or messenger bag. These are kind of your core things, and then flash, small compact flash. And let me go to, uh, so so if you go to my overall shop, right? So here's my picks that we'll get into later. And I categorize everything, but down here is studio and portrait. Oh, that shouldn't be in here. But uh this is something Marcus Picks advertised. This makes a really cheap reflector. It's just a car windshield umbrella. I bought one. It's pretty good. Let's see. Um, okay, so this is the softbox I just showed you. So you can see this is the one that I purchased. This is a 35-inch one. It's pretty big, but they have smaller ones. Where's the option? I paid like $60 for mine, I thought. Let me let me see if I can jump. Wow, they're not offering the smaller one anymore. But it comes with a grid, super lightweight, works with round heads and square heads. There's an even bigger one. These are the Bowens mount type of deals. Newer makes some decent ones. I have one of these. So the Bowens mount ones, let's take this one for example. These are generally more durable and but they're also heavier, right? Because you have to have the Bowens mount adapter on the back, so it adds weight. But I found that these are generally more durable. This little trio pole thing is cheap plastic, kind of like I'll probably get a year or two use out of it before I have to throw it away and buy another one. But these are a lot more durable. These will probably last you, 5 years, right? But these are the kind of things you want to look for. This one's okay. Let's see. These are easier to travel with the Octoboxes. Octobox. Oh, collapsible. Yeah, it's not collapsible. Yes. And then let's find a deal. $58. That's a good deal. There's a rectangular. These are all pretty decent deals. This is the square head with a Bowens mount adapter. This is a good deal from Godox. $40. 24 by 24. But you can see the square ones don't quite collapse. This one doesn't quite collapse. It's small. Let's see. UVM makes decent things. Let's see. What we want though is, but this is probably not collapsing. Let's see how it collapses. Yeah, this has the rod. Yeah, avoid these at any cost. These ones that have the rods. These are major pain in the ass. You definitely don't want that. Here's a 24-inch one. Is this still available? No. Crap. This one has a handle too. Uh, I don't like these bubble ones. 'Cause it just spreads the light everywhere, and you don't need it to go everywhere. This is this looks like a collapsible $66, so that's fair. 63. Okay, this is a really good size, 31 inch, 10% coupon. So you're gonna pay about $61 for this, $62. And it looks like it collapses down. Let's see. Yeah, this collapses down. Yeah, this is awesome. So this is gonna be my pick. So let me give you the link. That that Octobox does everything. Bowens mount, collapsible, flat collapsible, not like round like the other one I showed you collapses down to a cylinder. This one collapses down flat, so it's easier to carry. And it's a really good size, 31 inches, because 22 inches a little bit small. It's fine for headshots and things, but for full body shots, you want to get as big as you can, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. So 31.5 inch, that's a really good size, 80 centimeter. I'm going to put this in my studio and portrait lighting store, and then I'm going to give you a shortcut. Okay, so that's for the Octobox. So let me go back to your question. So fall, yeah, fall comedy, best small bones mount softbox options. So did you did you leave any other comment that might elaborate on? By the way, let me know if I was kind of on point with those options that I showed. If that makes sense to you, if you want to go further into one direction than another, I can talk about that a little more. But that's about 80% of my buying decision choice when it comes to Octobox and Softbox is it needs to be collapsible. And if it already has the flash mount built in, because if you're using speed lights, again, speed lights are portable, right? Like this is the way to go. If you're doing LED lighting and stuff, then yeah, go with a bonus mount. But this is really great for doing flash photography and speed lights. Even like an 8200, the 8100s, all of those are fit in here very nicely. Very compact, lightweight. If you need a Bowens mount, then that one I posted a link for is really good, and you can use that both in studio and in the field. It's just not quite as lightweight and compact. All right. And good morning, Jew. Good to see you. Seraphim, good to see you. Says the only time I use a tripod is when the wife wants to do holiday photos of the two of us, and I use my phone as a remote. Yep. Um, yeah, I mean, some of us don't need a tripod, right? With the image stabilization in our cameras, we can handhold and do landscapes, things like that, of course. But the ultimate stability is with a tripod for landscapes, panoramas, and also for doing telephoto work. Tripod just makes things, a lot easier. And Ethan said, I usually do most shots setting the Olympus camera down on something and angling it to get the shot. Rarely do spiders and webs and shots like that. Most spiders are in the grass. Oh, okay. I might explain why I'm having trouble finding spiders. I went out looking yesterday again, and I saw a jumping spider on one of my lawn chairs, and and I was oh crap, I need to get a macro lens. And then I went back in to get a macro lens. It was gone, of course. This allows me to tap the screen for bracketing. Yeah, so I mean, you do those fine grands of sand. So you put the camera down here and you put the sand over here and bring it up close. I kind of saw your setup from before. It makes sense. And a lot of the macro rails, if you use a macro rail, have little feet on them too. So your camera's only about this high off the table anyway. I used to have one, but the head just wouldn't lock well with the type of macro I was doing. Yep. The 16 MC teleconverter and extension tube and ray nuts get around 5 to 1. It's heavy. Yeah. So when you need a really small tripod, then you add all that on there. Um, Actually, this one can handle all of that. This little one here has a really good ball head. Unfortunately, it's like $50 now, but then you can see your height. It's kind of high now. So you have to elevate whatever your subject is a little bit to line up. But this would easily hold it. This because it's all metal. I guess this is aluminum, but the ball head is really strong. And then it has a quarter 20 screw here, so I don't have to worry about plates and clamps. Also adding weight and the bulkings. And I just watched an OM3 review, very positive, but mentioned a possible weak link was the clip that secures the battery. Do you think OM missed the mark on the camera battery compartment? No, it's fine. It's the same as the OM1. I wouldn't be surprised if these are interchangeable, like the OM1 and this. My OM1 is on a tripod out there. I wouldn't be surprised though, because they use the same battery. For example, the EM5 Mark II, EM5 Mark III, OM5, OM5 Mark II, I'm pretty sure, all use the same battery door. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was the same on the OM1. Don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Uh, when I think about the the very best camera battery door is on a Pentax, actually. Man, that thing is the Pentax, my Nikon DF. Just I'm gonna be careful here. This battery door, man, this is rock solid because this has a latch, like this, and then you got to twist it, and it's pretty thick. This battery door. And that's the very best. But then, you have to, it compromises this sticker, right? Um, the battery door on my OM1, which is virtually identical to that one, I've never had any problems with. And Chuck says, I feel the best tripod is the one you have, the Leofoto MT3, and yep, small carbon fiber tripod center column. It gets me about 2 feet to work with. Okay. We look that up. Leofoto MT03. Oh, that's pretty cool. So it's this one here. This is very similar to uh, the one that I bought for $20. But this has a much more substantial ball head with the Arca Swiss plate. Um, I was looking at these myself actually, but they were just so pricey. I mean, I'm not saying you don't get your money's worth. I'm just saying they're a little bit out of my budget. Um, that's pretty cool. And it looks like the legs kind of articulate out. Maybe you just got the legs, right? That's pretty cool. And the videos that I saw, or not videos, but the pictures I saw, like you can put this over fences and do all kinds of really cool things because of the way the legs articulate out. And excuse me. All right, good. Thanks for the reminder on that. Um, and Darko's here. Good to see you. And here's a quick question here. It says, is the octagon modifier better than rectangular or umbrellas? Um, well, it all depends, right? The octagon is going to give you a round light or beam of light, and then a square one is going to be a little bit more directional in the vertical and the horizontal, obviously because it's square, but not that much. The further out you pull it away, the less effect that squareness has. So I like to use square soft boxes when I'm in a studio because if there's a wall, I have a backdrop, right, behind the model, then with a square one, I can feather the light away from the backdrop in a very linear way, right? Because I have a square, I have light coming out relatively straight, and then I have the wall behind it. So I can kind of feather the light away very evenly against the backdrop. So if I want a nice feathered light on the backdrop, then it's easier to do. Versus a round, right? If I have a round one, then the light is going to feather more in a round oval pattern, and I'll get more of a vignette type look. So if the where the light is kind of where the vignette kind of comes around the model. So it just depends on what you want. They're just different styles. So it's not that one is better than the other. When it comes to soft boxes, it's what kind of effect do you want in your backdrop mostly, right? Because on the subject itself, uh, depending on how big the modifier is, it's not going to make much difference, right? The light's going to be focused on them and soft, but it's where the light spills onto the backdrop is where the difference comes between round and square. That's well, at least that's how I look at it and how I use round versus square. I like the square in studio because I can control the light against the backdrop. And then as far as umbrellas go, umbrellas just spread the light everywhere. So umbrellas are great in smaller studios where you want extremely soft light because the light's going to be bouncing off the ceiling and the walls and off the backdrop and off the model. That gives you the softest light, and then you can use multiple umbrellas and flashes to kind of layer things. You can do a lot of creative things with umbrellas that you really can't do with softboxes. But the trade-off is you have very little control over the light because it goes everywhere. In addition to that, half the light is being bounced back towards, in the opposite direction. So a lot of times you need to use higher power on your flashes to get the same light output. And that can increase your cycle times, things like that. So again, it just depends on your application. I think umbrellas are best for just about everything, general purpose lighting, and it's very compact, portable, easy to carry, and they're super cheap. $15 for an umbrella of just about any size you want. The bigger ones are closer to $50, but they're very cheap. They produce very, very soft light, and you can get some directionality out of them if you get sort of like the ones that are black on one side and white or silver on the inside. You can even modify the light a little bit and get a little more even lighting because you're increasing the distance. Now we're getting into more parabolic type umbrellas. Uh, they're not true parabolics, but you get the idea where the light has to travel a longer distance. And so Umbrellas can be good in a studio for a lot of situations, particularly smaller studios and you want very small light. In big studios where, you have 10, 20-foot ceilings and, you're working in a 30 by 60 space, then uh, umbrellas are a little bit not quite as useful because now the light is not bouncing off the walls anymore because it's too far away. Now all you're doing is reducing the amount of light hitting your subject, thereby increasing the power you have to use on the flash and all of that. So it really depends. It really depends. If I think about it, I'll probably think of 10 other things for the use case for each softbox or umbrella, but just off the top of my head and how I use these type of modifiers, those are the things that come to mind. And just check the 43 Loomer site. Looks like new company OM Systems is no longer making lenses for cameras like Olympus. Looks like they're farming out lenses to Sigma. Okay, wouldn't surprise me. Uh, making lenses is, I don't want to get too much into it, but that's a very, that's a whole different manufacturing process to making cameras, right? Because with lenses, you have to have polishing and coating machines, in addition to the manufacturing process of assembling the lenses. Cameras primarily are assembling, right? And setting up molds and refitting things for different style cameras. Lenses, on the other hand, you have that part of it, right? The manufacturing and assembly part, but you also have the polishing and coating process. And, it's very expensive if you want to make good lenses. So I don't know what OM Systems kept from Olympus in terms of because the Olympus company is still manufacturing lenses and cameras and gear for the medical. So it's possible they kept most of the lens manufacturing process to themselves and is now outsourcing that to OM Systems for like the pro lenses, right? 12 to 40 Pro, 300 Pro, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if they can outsource the Sigma, why not? Right? They're outsourcing anyway to Olympus, most likely. I doubt Olympus sold off their lens manufacturing. They sold off probably the camera side assembly and manufacturing that's in Vietnam, but the lenses are probably still manufactured in Japan, um, like the pro lenses. Where's my pro lens? I only have like two or three pro lenses. Mm. And I'm just thinking academically. I don't know for a fact. Let's see, my 300 F4 Pro. Let's see where this was made. If this was made in Vietnam, then possibly made in. I can't, even with my glasses on, I can't see. I can get enough light on here. I might be able to. Yeah, made in Japan. All right, so this was made in Japan. The teleconverter, most likely, teleconverter was made in Vietnam. Oh, I need to clean this thing. I know some of the lenses are made in Vietnam, but I would guess, if I had to guess, they outsourced the teleconverter manufacturing and then they made this in Japan at the Olympus lens factories. I'm just guessing. I'll have to read the article and see. I'm fine if Sigma makes the lenses. They've been making good stuff in general, and hopefully that'll give us some much more variety of lenses quickly. With all that gear that I eventually get, I will be one of those crazy old men that talk about photography only to anyone who listens. That's me right now. I mean, these live streams, basically, I'm just talking to anybody that'll listen, right? And Anthony says, looks like the new Pro lens come out to be backward engineered 7200 sport. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what it is. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of us Micro Four Third users wanted to see a 4150 updated to f2. Yeah, I don't know. Like the 150 to 400, there's $7,500 lens. That's going to be made in Japan at the Olympus factories, most likely. Yeah, yeah. Marco points out they've released a couple of new lenses, and but more specifically, they have partnered with Sigma in the past, right? 75 is pretty much a Sigma design. Obviously, the 150 to 600 that just came out, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are others. And Intrigue is here. Good to see you. And uh, and Intrigue says Sigma lenses are made exclusively in Japan. Okay. The 40 to 150 F Force is made in Vietnam. Interesting. So I wonder, I wonder how that's split because, like I said, it's not a small thing to have a lens manufacturing plant with the grinders, the polishers, and the coating machines. It'd be interesting to compare the 40 to 150 f2.8 Pro versus the 40 to 150 f4 Pro for very specific things that would be easily identified through coatings and polishing, right? The differences in quality. I'm not talking about sharpness and chromatic aberration. These kind of things are optical design, but coatings and polishing make a big difference in the contrast and resistance to flare, the polishing, I'm sorry, the coatings and contrast, right? But then the polishing plays a big role in uh, the onion ring effect that you see with spherical lenses. Really well polished spherical lens will not have onion rings. But anyway, good to see. All right, so I think I caught up with the chat, and I will go back to my deal page. Move this window over here, and see if my audio is good. Yeah, audio looks good. Just double checking. All right. So going back to my deal page, these two filter sets are killer deals. This is a magnetic filter set. This will fit the 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro. I have a K and F version, but that's like $100 set. To me, this one for $37 is just as good, uh, and has everything you need. It has the 10 stop ND for doing daytime long exposure. The circular polarizer, of course, to reduce reflections, increase contrast and everything. The UV filter will protect the lens, say, like on a beach against salty water spray and things like that, but I wouldn't use it in any other scenario other than if you think you're going to get the front element dirty. And then, of course, a magnetic lens cap, which is going to be metal. Since these are solid NDs and circular polarizers, you don't have to worry about image quality. These are generally going to be very, very, not going to have any effect on image quality uh, without pixel peeping, 500%. This is nice. This is really nice. I should go grab my own one because that has a. I'm using it now in the studio. It has a 12 to 40 Pro and magnetic filter set on the front that I'm using right now. Another set. I just bought this one yesterday. Hopefully, yeah. So I'm gonna get it tomorrow. $7.42. The 58 millimeter filter thread is perfect for like the 12 to 45 f4 Pro, the 75 1.8, the 40 to 150 kit lens, the Panasonics, the 12 to 35 and 35 to 100 f2.8 lenses that they have. So you get ND64, which I think is 4 or 5 stops, and then you got the circular polarizer, and then again the UV filter for. Is it a UV filter? What is it? Oh no, it's two NDs. So you get an ND8 and an ND64 and a CPL, and you get the carry case. The carry case alone is worth $7. Uh, well, the carry case is worth about $3, but still, you're getting these three filters for next to nothing. So I bought another set for myself here, as you can see. Uh, I can highly recommend this set. No problems at all in image quality or things like that. Um, just be careful when you're stacking filters together. Sometimes if you're pointing at a light source, like if the point of light is directly in the frame, you get a double reflection, right? Even the coatings are very good for flaring and things. Um, they're not quite as good at reflections, right? Because flaring and reflectivity are different in a roundabout way. They're really the same thing. Flaring is just indirect light reflecting, and reflections are direct light reflecting. But okay, definitely get this. The other filter sizes are not as much as a big discount. Like here's the 62, it's $38. Why get this when you can get the magnetic set for less? Uh okay, the 72 millimeter set is pretty cheap. Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many lenses that use 72 millimeter. The Canons are good, have a lot of lenses in the 72 millimeter range. But for Micro Four Thirds, there's a lot of lenses that fit 58 millimeters. Okay, and then this is a great accessory to have to remove filters. You ever have a hard time taking a filter off? Man, this thing is a lifesaver. Uh, I recommend this. Oh, excuse me, I'm still in a little bit of pain from last week's incident, but yeah, if you ever had trouble taking a filter off, this is a lifesaver. And of course, this bag, a few of you have bought this bag, $16 for a messenger bag. Hard to beat. I talked about this last week. It's still on sale. It's not even on sale now. They just dropped the price. Now it's $15.99. And that's something. Because if you look at the price history, it started out at $37, and then now they're just selling it. I guess once this is gone at this price, you're never going to see this bag again. I see this quite often where they'll start discounting a bag, and then once they've sold enough at the discounted price, they'll just lower the retail price to $16. In this case, And this is it. And then once it sells out, it's gone. You'll never see this bag again. This because I've done so many bags, like sling bags, messenger bags, that were super good deals. And I keep waiting for them to go on sale again, but then they never come back into stock. And that's it. So this is another one of those bags. This is a new filter I thought was really interesting. It sort of does this double reflection. That's not a great example, but look at this image here of the butterfly. That's pretty cool. So you got one part of the image that is unaffected, right? Your optics just pass through straight, but then you have sort of this repeating. I'm thinking about getting one of these. I wish they had a 62 millimeter size because it's easier to down step than it is to up step. This is a cool filter. And the starlight, I love this starlight effect. Uh, and this is the cheapest set I've ever seen. $17 basically for starlight set of filters. And they have them in various sizes at all roughly the same price. So get the filter thread size that you need. But the 62 millimeter is the best deal. Again, 12 to 40 Pro. This is a perfect size. Um, this is the same magnetic filter set, but the only other set on sale is the 82 millimeters. So you want to get the 62 or the 82. The 82, man, that's like telephoto type lenses and full frame lenses. It's a big ring size. Not many of you are going to need that size. And then, of course, this filter I reviewed. This is an awesome filter. It's a great deal, even at $88 at the full price. But now you're saving like 10%, right? I can highly recommend this filter. Very high quality, and it's a combination ND filter, 5-stop ND filter, I think, right? Yeah, 5-stop in addition to circular polarizer. It's a little fiddly trying to separate the CPL from the ND filter, but it's hard to beat sort of this all-in-one utility and the quality of the optics of this lens. So all overall, I can highly recommend this filter. And then I don't know why, but more people need to buy this monopod, $145. If I didn't have the other version of this, I have the non-rapid version that I paid $120 for, and it's not even carbon fiber. This is the rapid version and carbon fiber. Killer deal. Again, I think once they sell out of these 18, this is not going to be $145. And this sold for $300 all day long. I have friends that have bought this at the $300 price. This is an interesting SD card reader. USB 4.0, so it's the latest, spec. UHS 2, so it's high speed. But in addition to that, it has a port that you can pass through to your laptop. Why is this critical? Because a lot of laptops, they don't have enough USB-C ports. Some only have one. I have a friend that has a card reader and they have to make a choice. Do I want to power my laptop or do I want to use my card reader? With this, they wouldn't have to make that choice, right? Because their laptop only has one USB-C port, then it has two USB-A ports. So this is amazing. This is a great idea. I don't like the design too much with this being in the front. It's kind of an awkward arrangement in my opinion, but the functionality cannot be beat for people that need, that are running into this problem. And it's cheap, $22, and it's a high-speed reader for UHS-2 and micro SD. So I thought this was kind of an interesting product, something different than your usual card readers. And of course, I talked about this camera. This is a lot of fun. Makes a great gift or even just a toy for yourself. Uh, this is this is still on sale. You can get it for about $36 with a coupon. It's a very small fluid head with a leveling base built in, so it's kind of an all-in-one. So you don't need to buy a full tripod, you know, fluid head set. This will get you most of the way there. It's a very limited solution, but it's cheap and it'll probably work just fine. They have a larger one here. Of course, it's double the price, or not quite double. Um, you're going to pay about $22 more for this one, but if you need a little more weight capacity, this will hold 11 pounds or 5 kilos. This is the way to go. This it's just like that other tripod that we looked at from Ulanzi. This combines, the leveling base with the fluid head. Of course, video work. If you're into videography, you appreciate these features. But for panorama photographies, this is the best way to do it for panoramas, multi-row panoramas specifically. Okay, and then some cheap tripods here. I reckon, this is if you got no money or you don't want to spend a lot of money. Like I know some of you don't have a tripod. You've mentioned in the comments, just buy this one for $30 that you're going to use once in a blue moon to do selfies. Like you want to have you and your friends in the shot, right? And just buy this one. Uh, this is much better than any other tripod at this price point. All metal ball head, metal legs, collapsible monopod, $30. Okay. If you don't have a tripod, just buy this one and then start using a tripod for God's sake. Anyway, that my rant over. And then if you want a carbon fiber tripod, it's not on sale, but you're not going to find as good a tripod as this anywhere. Carbon fiber that has all these features. If you don't care about the panorama feature, you can get away with this one. It has a great ball head, has very solid legs. These are, I believe, 29 millimeter or 30 millimeter legs. So it's very, very stable. As you can see, it has a very high capacity, right? 44 pounds. Uh, it's not a super lightweight tripod, but this is a really good tripod for $89. And then, of course, some various things down here, the lights, the clips, chargers, extension tubes, macro things. I've talked about these things many, many times before. Swirly bokeh lens, soap bubble lens. So if you want swirly bokeh for $23, get this for your Micro Four Thirds. If you want soap bubble bokeh, then get this lens, but you have to buy the adapter separately. So I put a Micro Four Thirds adapter here that you'd have to get together with this. Much, much cheaper options than buying these popular swirly bokeh, Petzl, and soap bubble lenses. Modifier, step up, step down rings, and then flashes. I have all the usual suspects down in here. This is my tripod. I bought this at Prime Day for $159. Well, not this one. I bought this one. I bought this one with the fluid head that I showed you earlier. It's a great tripod. Even $199, I think it's worth it. This is the monopod that I own that, I paid $120 for when it went on sale. Why get this when you can get the carbon fiber rapid version? I have the flip lock aluminum one. There's no point to buy this. If I didn't have that already, I would buy that. And that about sums it up. Uh, this is great. This is a nice little gimbal for telephotos. So if you're tired of holding your long lens out in the field, this is great to throw on top of your monopod, and you can stay all day long at Conelingo Dam and take pictures of eagles with 150 to 600. So that's what I have for today for my shopping. Let me go into the chat section and see if there's anything you guys are looking for. Yeah, filter wrenches are awesome. They are. They're the ones that I have there for $7 are plastic. So, um, when they break, just buy another set. Mine haven't broken yet, but it's plastic. They feel kind of flimsy, so I'm careful with them. But ultimately, they're gonna break. But they're so cheap. Just buy another set. It's worth it. And Paul says the new Case 85 AF 1. Oh, crap, excuse me. Man, I got a good night's rest last night. I had some nightmares, but aside from waking up from that, I had a really good night's rest. Um, just got it yesterday to try with the lens. Comes in full frame Nikon Z and Sony mouse so far. The 85 field of view is getting crowded with so many different. And an 85 1.4, that's going to give you such a shallow depth of field. You're going to have to use that at distance. You wouldn't use it for headshots, man. You would get like the eye in focus and the rest of the face would be blurry. Let me see. I haven't seen that lens. Case 85 1.4. Viltrox makes one for 600. I would be tempted to get that one. But this is 700. Why is this more? Let's see what's what about this lens. I'm curious. No, it's spherical glass, so you're not going to get onion rings. 580 grams. That's not bad. Stepping motors, of course. At this price point, you're going to get stepping motors. Uh, 10 group design, beautiful bokeh. So when you have that, that's not very many elements. Well, I guess for a prime, that's okay. We don't have any other pictures here, like a MTF chart or anything like that. How about this? Let's see if eBay has any other. No. Interesting. Over here, they might have some MTF charts in here. Let's see. Nope. Not that you can really judge a lens off an MTF chart, but it doesn't look like they provided one. Or just the breakdown of the design by showing a cut through of the elements. Well, Nikon rumors, they're usually pretty thorough. Nothing. Not available for sale on eBay. Let's look at the Viltrox one in comparison. I'm just curious. Here's the Viltrox Pro lens. It's less. What are the specs here? We have 15 elements and 11 groups. But this is 800 grams. Yeah, this is quite heavy. So it looks to me like the selling point of the Case 85 is the relatively compactness of 580 or 90 grams, fewer elements, smaller size, but there's going to be some compromises in optical quality compared to, say, the Viltrox. The Viltrox is bigger, heavier, more elements, but that means there's going to be more optical corrections and probably give you ultimately better optical quality than the case. I'm just spitballing here, okay? Uh, but I think depending on how much worse the case is in optical quality, because it might not make much difference in 99% of your photography that, unless you're pixel peeping every eyelash on somebody, you probably won't be able to tell any difference between the two lenses optically. Then paying a little bit more for the compact size and weight versus because we're talking about 200 grams difference, right? Between the two lenses. That's, that's not pocket change. That's quite a bit. Um, how come my chat window's gone? There we go. That's not pocket change, right? 200 grams. So yeah, I'd be curious. Let me know after you've used it for a little while how that's going. Just remind me in another stream later. How do you find prices? Oh, I have this app. There's the popular one, Camel, 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 right? So let me just type that in. Google that. Uh, that one is that one I would use online. I wouldn't download the extension that they have. Okay. But if you go to their website and type in the product you want, they also have stuff for best prices and deals and things. I find it a little clunky to use that interface online because it's too general. I'm looking for camera gear specifically. So anyway, that's one. The one that I use the most, and I use the plugin, is this one. What's it called? Keepa. So Keepa is the other one. This one I would use the extension in Google Chrome. I don't know if it works in Apple and other stuff. The key difference between these two is Camel, 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 I believe, if you use them to check price history, then you buy the product, even though you came to me first, it's going to overwrite my cookies and I'm not going to get credit. And that's fine, right? If Camel, Camel, Camel helped you find a better deal than I can, then they earn they earn their commission. But Keepa, I believe, does not take away the affiliate link. But all the same, all of these coupon and um, price checker things, they tend to steal the affiliate link from people like myself that are promoting the products and sharing with you, walking through all the different features, pros and cons. And then when you check the price using one of these apps and extensions, suddenly I lose my affiliate link cookie, use cookies and whatever. Then they get commission and I don't. And I think that's a little bit unfair. That would be unfair to me when I do all the work in selling the product and then they take the commission last second, you know. But I would use the Camel 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 site online, and I would use the Keepa extension um, in my browser in Google Chrome. I don't know about other browsers. And Ray Benzini is here. Good to see you. What's a good external monitor? Okay, there is a good one here, and it's on sale now. It goes on sale for this price time to time, but it's not all the time. But it's the best price you're going to get on it when it is on sale. And there's a few caveats with this. Okay, let me go to because I was thinking about buying it for myself actually. So let me give you the link. I'll add this to my deal page. Okay. So that's now on my deal page. but it's this one here. Great reviews, 4.4 rating. This is a great external monitor. Well, let me look at your question again. Sorry. What's a good external monitor? So I need a little bit more. Uh, I need to be a little more specific. This is an external monitor, but it's a portable external monitor that runs off USB-C Thunderbolt or USB-C that has, because this draws all its power from USB-C and it draws the video signal from USB-C and a micro HDMI. So you need a micro HDMI cable, say if you want to display your camera photos and things on here, or if you want to display something directly from your camera, I should say. Or if you have a laptop that has the proper USB-C port that's display compatible and also drive enough power to drive the monitor. That's why you need a typically Thunderbolt. MacBooks have this too. I'm not as familiar with MacBook, but this is the important part. Your device should support Thunderbolt 3 or USB 3.1 Type-C DP alt mode, which means display port. You can use your USB-C port as a display port to drive graphics. So if your laptop, assuming your laptop or your desktop for that matter, but this is mostly for laptop use, doesn't support this, then this monitor is not going to work. But if you need something more that's and I like this because it has a cover and everything. So it's very, very cool. I'm thinking about getting this. Because when I'm teaching, it would make a lot, this would be a lot more portable than the 27-inch monitor I drag along with me. But yeah, I would recommend this one. But I need to know if you want to talk about other monitors that you plug into a wall, that's a whole different class of monitors, and that's a whole different conversation. And I don't want to get into it unless I have to. And AJ, good morning. Good to see you. And Jeff, Roderick, have you used handheld Starlight mode? What Robin was talking about in a video yesterday. Uh, I have, I have, but those are mostly in the older cameras. So basically, if I recall, basically it takes several images and stacks them together and gives you and it's basically image stacking in camera without, you know, with the same resolution. Like high res shot mode is basically the same thing, but it's shifting the pixels in addition to stacking. This is basically stacking images only without shifting the pixels. And it's something they used to put in the cameras. You forget what's the last one. I don't think even my EM5 Mark II has it. But a lot of the older Olympus cameras had this mode. I don't know why they took it away. It was actually a pretty interesting feature. But you have to be on a tripod because the stacking can introduce, you have to be really, really steady. I would recommend a tripod because I've tried to use it a few times in the past, and I got mixed results because my hands aren't that steady. On a tripod, 100% is awesome. And I think ultimately, I think it delivers a JPEG though. So I think that's why I didn't use it very much. Let me see if I can find a camera. I wouldn't put it on that far back. I just had this camera in my hand. Oh, here. No, I know that doesn't happen. Pretty sure even my Olympus app doesn't. Well, where's my M5 Mark II? I just had it out. So I was using it the other day. Oh, the app doesn't have it. I don't have the creative switch here, so this doesn't have it. Anyway, I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it creates a JPEG. If it creates a RAW, I don't know why I didn't use it more. But if it, I think I didn't use it much because I was getting mixed results in terms of hand holding, and then uh, it has to be still life. Nothing can be moving in the scene. And really, as I updated my cameras, they got rid of that feature, so I really wasn't able to use it anymore. I bet the M5 Mark III might have it though. Let's see. I don't understand why. I'm an idiot. I thought this was the M5 Mark III. This is the M5 Mark II. This has it. So if I go to scene mode, sport, starlight. Okay, so I just created an the use for that. Let me just check if it creates a JPEG or not. Try that again. Oh, it does create a RAW. Wow. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's relatively slow, and there's not many options here. I didn't use it much. I didn't use it much because it is handheld, and I know it stacks and tries to align things, and it does an okay job, but it was just inconsistent for me. So I didn't use it much. Um, in contrast, as I tested it for a couple of days versus the Viltrox Pro, and image quality was comparable. Yes, like I said, you'd have to test for things that were um, very specific to find differences. I'm sure. So they're doing such a good job with all these lenses, whether they're budget or high end. Or let me rephrase that. All of the budget lenses, they're doing such a good job that you have to pick some people to see the difference between, say, these budget lenses and pro lenses. Granted, the pro lenses, the key difference is going to be in generally uh, pro lenses. They're gonna make more corrections. You're gonna have it's going to be sharper across the frame because they put a lot of work into making it sharp across the frame. Generally, it's going to be very sharp, wide open, without having to stop down. You're going to have better flare resistance. Flaring is the biggest problem with a lot of these budget lenses. And then, um, and then minor things like contrast and chromatic aberrations, onion ringing. You're going to get onion ringing in a lot of pro lenses because of the polishing. But Uh, the only company that really does good polishing is the Leica, and Canon does a pretty good job in their pro line, but the you really have to go to Leica to get really virtually no onion ring, you know, on their high end lenses. Uh, the case may be even a bit sharper, but at this level of performance, it's a wash, and the case is a lot lighter. Yeah, that is an interesting. Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed when I said 580 grams. Wait a minute, that's pretty light for 85 1.4. But there's a compromise somewhere. There has to be. And then Jude says, let me clarify, this might be a little large, not on a tripod or camera. Okay. So you're talking about portable monitors that you put on your camera. Okay. Uh, this one is really good. Let me see. I don't use it very often because it limits some of the functionality of your camera when you attach it. Like I think you definitely lose in-camera stacking and bracketing possibly. I have to plug one in and see. Right. So a lot of things. What's the brand? Uh, they used to send me stuff all the time, and then I stopped accepting their products because I was tired of reviewing monitors. Um, but I'll give you some pointers, right? This is Anderson. Anderson is really good. Anderson, Feel World, all these brands are pretty decent. But what you want to look at is the overall brightness. Uh, and these kind of monitors, typically the brightness I think is like 200 to 400 nits. That's good enough for anything indoors, studio, and some outdoor stuff in the shade. That's why these come with a lens hood. Typically, they have not a lens hood, but a monitor hood, right? Which I have in a box somewhere else. But these are great for that. The newer ones now are powered via USB-C, so that makes a lot of difference in your rig setup. Okay. Because then you can have a power bank to power your camera and the monitor separately if you want. But a lot of them use standard NPF batteries that you clip onto the back, right? So you don't need to use USB-C, but they don't last quite that long unless you get a big battery, and then that makes this kind of a little bit heavy. But this has the quarter 20 screw on the back and the side, so you can kind of mount this in multiple ways. You want to get one of those little um, mini fluid head things that go in your hot shoe, and then you can put this on top of your camera. So let me try and find this one online. It'll be easier to. Let's see. So this is the one that I have, right? 150 bucks. Lens hood, USB-C, micro HDMI. I don't like this swivel type, gimbal type mount that they're showing here. So what I would recommend is um, this one. This is even cheaper. This has sort of the gimbal type hot shoe adapter. This is the way I would go. So this is a good one. Durable aluminum shell, waveform, 3 light. It depends on what you're using for. Typically, people with that use these for video work, then because they all have all of these video centric features built in. And if you're doing video work, I would recommend one that's also touchscreen. Because navigating the menus and things is a pain in the ass using two buttons to get through all the different features. I think this one's touchscreen too. I can't remember. I haven't used it in a long time. Field battery waveform. No, the one I have is a touchscreen. Oh, here's one from FieldWorld touchscreen. This is a nice one. Let's see the back. So we have dual HDMI, full size. Has a Type C input, so USB-C here, 5-volt output. That ain't gonna cut it, but I guess that's fine. I like this one a lot. Touchscreen, 6-inch, Type C. I like this one. I don't see any deals though. That's screen 150. That's the Anderson version. Let's see how the brightness is. They don't mention the night brightness. This one's pretty bright. All right, this is the way to go. Touch screen, 1600 nits. You can use this outside in bright sunlight. I would go with this one. It's worth it to spend a little bit more for the touch screen and the brightness. The only downside is it goes through the battery a lot faster. So you're gonna have to turn the brightness down when you don't need it. But yeah, if it's USB-C, let's see. Yep, Type C input. All right, so this is the way to go. I'm gonna recommend this one. Just off the top of my head. So I'll put this on my picks. Okay, that's on my pick page now. What's the lowest price? 144 versus 100. Yeah, it goes on sale time to time. Just wait, it'll go on sale. Let's see, this one. This one is probably not as bright. Yeah. 1000 nits pretty bright, but you're only saving $10. So I would still go with this 1600 nits, 2000 nits. That's brighter than you really need. So you'll notice when a monitor is particularly bright, they will put it right in the description. So I can kind of skim through these pretty quickly without 2000 nits. I just wish they would tell you how bright the ones that are not 2000 nits or 1600 nits. They don't advertise it, but it's probably in the 2 to 400 range. It's not that bright. See if they mention it in here. Oh, okay, input, blah, 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 175 grams. Okay, 500 CD. What is that? That's not the same as nits. It's a little bit different measurement. This ain't gonna cut it outdoors. So I hope that makes sense. I forget who asked. But that one I showed you from Field World, that's touchscreen and 1600 nits and Type-C USB-C input, that's the way to go. And it usually comes with the cables you need to go from micro HDMI to HDMI for smaller cameras. I don't like that swivel mount. If you're putting it out separately on a tripod or you have some other kind of rig, just use the 1/4 20 screws. But otherwise, I would buy a separate gimbal if you're going to put it directly on the camera. And Great Valentini says, I got this TT Artisan 56 1.8 for my Nikon. Pretty impressive lens as it crops like an 85-ish. Yep. TT Artisans, 7 Artisans, Viltrox. Viltrox is kind of my favorite right now because they're coming out a little faster with their autofocus lenses. The other guys are kind of catching up. Just be careful when you plug the monitor in. It's primarily for video because of all the tools in the monitor, but then you lose functionality of other things. I'll plug this in, but it would take, let me just plug it in. I need a battery and a cable. So, battery. I'm plugging my OM3 since I have a lens on this. Which one is in and out? So this one. A lot of them have the pass through HDMI. Will come in handy. Then you can have a giant monitor some for the audience to look at. Then you can look at the small one on your camera. Here's my dying eyes. Let's see, this goes in this way. Okay, let's turn this on. Now it's coming on. It's upside down. Okay. So if I go into the menu, all right. So when I go in the menu, when I have the monitor attached, you can see I lose focus stacking, HDR, and multiple exposure. But whoops. But let's see. Can I still do high res shot? Yeah, high res shot's still good. And then over here, I lose keystone and fisheye compensate. Yeah, that's not a big deal. This is a big one though. I lose all of my bracketing capabilities. So I can't do focus bracketing, ISO bracketing, white balance bracketing, exposure bracketing. I lose all this functionality when a monitor is attached. So just be conscious of that. There might be some other things if I deep dive into the menus, but it's primarily the computational stuff, the stacking HDR, keystoning fisheye, and everything in here. Okay. So that's why I don't use it a lot because it'd be useful for macro photography. In macro photography, a lot of times I do stacking, right? And that's when I would use a big monitor so I could really see things and focus is critical. So that's why I don't use it that much. In the Great Vanzini, you need a big monitor. So go 32 inch. Dell is really good. LG is really good. Just stick with the brands, Dell and LG, and you'll be all right. But if you want me more specific, let me know. Well, the TG7 has. Oh yeah, yeah. The TG series does have it. That's right. I've used it in my TG5 a couple of times. And if you're not going to be carrying it around, just get a regular monitor. Money well spent. Monitors stay with you through many upgrades. Monitors, keyboards, mice, treat yourself. Yep. So yeah, the Great Vanzini, if you need, and Marco's a good person to go to about monitors because he reviews them extensively. Like he knows the ins and outs. He helped me select the monitor that I have indirectly, where we talked about a Dell IPS monitor that had a 2000 to 1 contrast ratio. And I found out that this LG panel that I bought for half price used the same panel. So, um, but yeah, I would need to know basically in monitors, you want to look at refresh rate, you know, the higher the better. Most of them are like 144 hertz now anyway. Contrast ratio for IPS panels, typically you want at least 1,000. That's kind of the baseline. But if you can find one that has like 2,000 contrast, you're in good shape. Most of the IPS panels can be calibrated and are going to be sRGB 100%, no problem for photo editing and displaying your images online. If you want a much higher color gamut, you're going to have to spend some money. So the Asus ProArt series, I believe, are all P3, which is a video spec, but it's pretty much Adobe RGB. You want to look for P3 or Adobe RGB 100%. And the Asus ProArt monitors are going to be very good for that. Um, but they may not necessarily have the contrast ratio. To get the high contrast ratio and the high color gamut, 4K, 32-inch, you're going to be spending, at least when I was shopping for them, they were like $1,000. And I was able to get mine for 500 because it was like a display model or something. Um, any good grips for the OM3? I love it with smaller prime lenses, but for shooting a 12 to 40 or 40 to 150, yeah. Okay, I have several grips on my page here. So if we go to my shopping page, down here, I have a couple different ones. There was a third one here, but I think, yeah, they don't have it in stock anymore. This has the wood handle. This will give you a pretty deep grip. Let's see. You can see here it has a pretty deep grip. Also has an Arca Swiss plate on the bottom and a separate quarter 20 thread. So this has all of the features that you'd want in a grip for the OM3. I would recommend this one. Um, yeah, still access to the battery door, and the corners are not sharp. They're not going to dig into your skin. Because you have to look at the back here. The back looks like they rounded it off a bit. So this is one I recommend. So this is on my shopping page, but I'll put it on my deal page just for today so it's easy to find. And they come in various colors, and it's going to take, 2 to 3 weeks to get it because it's coming from China. Uh, that's that's the way to go. Um, the one that I got, oops, is does not have the Arca Swiss plate on the bottom. It's a hat case, and the grip is very small. The wood grip is bigger. Also, this corner Man, this thing is razor sharp. So when I'm holding, you can see my palm digs right into that. And I get these big indents on my hand. It's never cut me. It's not that sharp. But it gets uncomfortable after a while if I'm holding it for any length of time. So that's why I like having a grip when doing macro work. But I've gone out and done macro photography without, the grip. And yeah, that or if I'm doing birding with my 300 F4 Pro, this gets uncomfortable after a while. The first hour or so, no big deal. But after a couple hours, man, this thing can really cut into your hand. The grip that I showed you with the wood grip doesn't seem to have that issue. It's very small and it's like it's rounded off. This thing is just a sharp, sharp corner. Either way, if it comes in with a sharp corner like this, you can always file it a little bit, right? It's not going to be pretty, but at least you won't cut your palm. Okay. Uh, and Shree's here. Good morning. Um, did the all-in-one battery fail on you? Mine did. I tried charging it in a camera using the adapter, but no luck so far. No, my battery's been working fine. So if you put the camera battery in the camera and you turn it on and you see a low battery indicator and the camera shuts off, that's a different problem than you put the battery in there and the camera will power on and off, right? Either way, you got to replace the battery. There's very little you can usually do to fix it because let's say you turn the camera on or you turn the power switch on, the camera doesn't turn on. That means the battery is so low that the camera senses that and doesn't bother to turn on. There's not enough juice to even turn the camera on. And that can be caused for a couple of reasons. One, the circuits are bad in the battery. For whatever reason, the circuit's gone bad. Two, which is very unlikely, but sometimes if you drain a battery so much, it won't charge. It just won't charge. And what people do sometimes is um, they they try to charge the battery manually using a simple 5-volt or 7-volt supply that's not regulated to jumpstart the battery a little bit, and that'll get it back into. But the problem with that is 9 times out of 10, you usually fry the battery circuits, the chip inside there, and the battery becomes useless anyway. So I don't recommend doing that at all. And the other scenario would be if you turn that camera on and it shows low battery, but it won't charge, the battery won't charge in camera. I would try an external charger next. After that, if the external charger doesn't charge the chemistry in the battery is bad. It's not a chip or a circuit problem. It's the chemistry has gone bad. So it just depends what the problem is. I'm gonna have to go into my. I'm gonna put some magnifying glass on and see if I actually got the stingers out. Because here and here is still swollen. The other bites that I got are not swollen anymore. But I don't know. Like this one is totally not swollen, but this one is swollen. I'm sorry. Those of you that know me know I got attacked by a swarm of wasps. And I still got 2 stings here that are still bothering me that maybe I didn't get the stinger all the way out. So I'm gonna have to be careful. Okay, if you don't want to record, Neewer has some 4 to 6 inch range. Okay. So I showed you the Neewer I recommended. And I think from Mac, I don't know anything about Mac. Thanks, Robin Marco. Much appreciated. Didn't know about losing so many functions if I attach them. Looks like I may have to find another way to help my eyes. Yeah, like I do, right? I had to carry these with me around all the time now. For a while, I was able to get away with just occasionally doing it, and if I forgot them, it's okay. But now, if I forget my glasses, I run into problems on a regular basis. So 32 would be about right. So the Great Vanzini, Marco has a great recommendation as always. Uh, yeah, but I guess it depends on your budget. OLED displays are expensive. I don't know why my chat just jumped way up again. Sorry. I have to recalibrate my chat. So I got the Gigabyte Aurora 28 OLED. It's great. Maybe the best purchase I made last year. Okay. What is that anyway? Let me look at it. I mean, OLED displays are going to have infinite contrast. I don't see it on Amazon, but this guy, I have it on Newegg, Best Buy, B&H. But anyway, let's look at the B&H on sale here. Quora QLED 1440. Nice. I like the stand. It looks like it's rotatable and adjustable. That looks nice. So let me give you a link for that one. I am an affiliate for B&H. Thank you for the suggestions, Marco, and the experience that Samjung that you had with that monitor. There's my B&H affiliate link. Okay. Um, Anybody out there that can recommend a high quality 24-inch display? Yeah, maybe Marco, but Marco's not a big Mac guy either, but he probably knows. I don't know anything about Mac, fortunately. And Chuck says my JJC is sometimes not sense a battery if it's 100% depleted. I have to charge it in the camera for a few minutes before popping them in the charger. So this goes back to what I was saying about if camera can be so depleted that you have to kind of jumpstart it. But that's typically on the older lithium ion batteries. The newer ones should have enough circuitry, but anything can happen. But yeah, that's what I meant about some people like to manually like they get a unregulated or dumb power supply to jumpstart the battery. And that's basically what Chuck is doing. He's putting it in the camera to charge it a little bit, then put it into the um, regular regular charger on low outlet type chargers. So I gave a link to the 27. Yeah. So Semjon 27 240. The link that I provided was for, I mean, all of the OLED displays are going to be great. And this is in the same series. It's just 20. No, this 24. Yeah, that's exact. Yeah, 600 is a good deal. Uh, the 32-inch, just take a quick look. They've come down in price since I've been shopping. Honestly, yeah, all right, they haven't come down that much. This is the Dell that I was referring to, the U32 QE. They should say, wow, it's up to 3,000 to 1 contrast ratio. This is very similar to the one that I bought a couple of years ago for 500 because mine was a display model made by LG. But this is the best monitor, best investment I ever made, right? It's getting a 4K high contrast IPS display. There's so many things you have to look for in a monitor. It's really hard to get into, but yeah, contrast ratio, around 2 to 3,000. The HDR stuff is kind of, I got mixed feelings on. And if you're doing a lot of video work, then the HDR makes more sense. But for photography, very few people look at your photos in HDR. A lot of people watch movies in HDR, in which case you want to be able to edit and create in HDR workflow. But for photography, HDR is not that critical. So just get a 4K 32-inch monitor, IPS with a 2000 contrast ratio. You can get away with less, but if you're going to buy a monitor, like Marco was saying, it's something you keep for a long time. Just invest in a really good one, and you should be in good shape. But the Dell that I just showed would be one of those, like, yeah, you will have for a long time. But I don't know what your budget is. If your budget is a lot less, then you can get away with any 32-inch 4K IPS screen, even with a 1000 or 1200 contrast ratio. You're still going to get great colors, be able to edit, do everything for your photos. Don't buy into the HDR hype too much. It's not that big a deal. It's really primarily for consuming content and watching HDR movies. And if you're creating HDR content, then it's good for the workflow. All right. I think that's it. So I'm gonna call it here. Um, so thanks everyone for joining me today. Use my affiliate links down below for the deals that we talked about or anything else. Bookmark them so that you can refer to them and I can get credit for all your purchases. Because you don't have to buy what I showed today or what's on my page. If you click on a link and look at any of the products, anything you buy from there, I'll get credit for too. So I know the great Vanzini does that a lot. He bookmarked my page and buys a lot of stuff not related to photography, and every little bit helps me out here. So thanks for much for joining me today. I'll be back on Friday for the photo editing live stream. That's up now, so you can start submitting your images, or you can edit my image. I put a link there. And you guys have a great day, rest of your week, and I hope to see you again soon.